The story of Cain and Abel teaches us powerful lessons concerning faith, obedience, loyalty, and trust in God. We also learn powerful lessons on the consequences of lacking trust, obedience, and loyalty to God. We will see there and learn how evil a person can be if they do not have trust and obedience to God. And it's unbelievable how a person can become. It's unbelievable, brothers and sisters. Let's dive into this lesson quickly. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 4. We see Abel is mentioned among the heroes of faith. By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice. So God considers his offering as excellent than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous. So God looked at Abel as a righteous man, that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. So in other words, if God looks at Abel as a righteous man, that means automatically he looks at Cain as an evil man. Powerful lessons that we learn from this story, beloved. Let's quickly run to the book of Genesis to get the full story of what happened. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain was a tiller of the ground. So these two brothers had different occupations. The other one was interested in looking after sheep. The other one was a tiller of the land. In other words, was a farmer, someone who grows and looks after crops. That was Cain. And Abel was one who loves to look after animals. He was into animal husbandry. So, verse 3 goes on to say, and in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. So the Lord respected the offering of Abel. As we have read and learnt earlier on from the book of Hebrews, that God considered Abel to be a righteous man because he was obedient. Because these brothers were taught that when you bring a sacrifice before the Lord, you have to bring an animal sacrifice, not anything else. But Cain decided to do things his own way. There are many Christians today who love to do things their own way, not the way that God is saying. God is saying, out of the city, we stay put in the cities. God is saying there's a way that we should dress. People are not interested. They want to be like the giant man Samson, who wanted things to be done his own way. He says, bring that woman because he pleases me. Most of the people in the world today, they want to do things that pleases them, not what pleases God. That's why Hebrews says, without faith, it's impossible to please God. Because without faith, you do things that pleases you. That's the same attitude that Cain had. But Abel was humble. He was a man of faith, was a righteous man, ready to obey what God says. And God accepted his offering. Verse 5 says, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. He even changed his face. He was angry. Why? Because God did not accept his offering. Many Christians shall be disappointed in the last days, because the moment that they shall realize that they are lost, they shall be bitterly disappointed, and they shall hate those who are doing well, those who are choosing to be obedient to God. But the power of choice is given to each and every Christian to choose whether we want to obey God or we want to do things our own way. But unfortunately, in the last days now, when some will realize that they are lost, they will be so bitter, and they will be so angry, and they will have so much animosity, and they will become evil. That's the same thing that happened with Cain. But who forced you to choose the way of rebellion against Jehovah? Isn't it you who made your own choice? So why are you angry? Then verse 6 says, and the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? God is now asking, Why are you angry, my friend? What's your problem? Then God goes on to say, if thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? If you obey and you do that which God is saying, are you not going to be accepted by God? Are you not going to be blessed? Are you not going to be saved? If you follow Jesus and walk in the paths of righteousness and follow everything that God says, are you not going to receive salvation and blessings? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Because there are two masters that are there. There are two masters that are there. He said that you choose to be a servant of Satan, a servant of sin, and you do the biddings of Satan, and you be a slave of Satan, and you do his will. Or you choose to be a servant of God, a son or a daughter of God, and you do righteous things and you follow that which God says, and you live a life that pleases God. And let's continue and hear how the conversation went ahead. Verse 8, and Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. So jealous now rose to another level, to another degree now of murder. That is what jealous does. It first begins with disobeying God. It looks like as if it's a small matter, just disobeying God, just doing things your own way. God is saying go left, you go right. It looks like it's a minor. It's not something that is major. It's not something that is big. But what we don't know, beloved, is that it grows from one level to the other. If you look at the people in the church right now and you tell them that one of these days you're going to become murderers, you're going to become traitors, you're going to betray your fellow believers, you're going to kill your fellow believers, no one will accept that message. They will say you're a prophet of doom, but you will be saying the truth because it's there in the scriptures. Everyone who is refusing to follow what God says, his end is not a good end. They are going to become more rebellious. They are going to become more bold in rebellion against God. And they are going to persecute and kill those who follow the true ways of God. No one can imagine that in the beginning. To say if you refuse to obey God in small matters of diet, in small matters of dressing, in small matters of keeping the Sabbath day holy, in small matters of following every aspect that God says, every precept, every commandment, you become rebellious and you become bold and you become a murderer in the end. No one will believe that, but it shall be so. And 2 Timothy also confirms that, yea, and all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. So the Bible is just confirming that everyone who lives a godly life, who lives according to the truth, who lives according to the way that God says, those people shall be persecuted by those who are on the other side. Those who are on the other side, they chose their own way of living contrary to what God says. But they will have jealousy and animosity and evilness to persecute and kill the people of God in the end. Matthew 24 verse 9 also confirms the same. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. So these were the words that Jesus said, looking at the time of the end, when the time of persecution shall come, when the mark of the beast shall be put in place, and the people shall be killed. People shall first be forced to accept the mark of the beast for them to be able to buy or sell. If they refuse, they shall be killed. A death decree shall be enforced, and the people of God shall be forced to leave their homes and to run and hide in the mountains and caves and dens, and all their property and all their goods shall be confiscated. So people of God shall live in the mountains, and they shall be looking up to God for deliverance and for food. But God promises us in the Bible, and God says, your bread and your water shall be sure. God shall supply. So they shall learn what it means to just depend and rely upon God, and not upon the systems of this world, not upon a job, not upon any source of income, but upon God himself. Matthew chapter 24 verse 10 goes on to say, and then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. If you tell anyone in the church, or you just stand in front of the church and tell people that most of the people that are in here right now shall betray the saints of God, no one will agree. No one will concur with that statement. People say, no, not me, not me, not me. But it shall happen. Most of the people are going to be lost, and most of the people are going to become rebellious, and they shall become murderers and traitors and betray the saints of God. Even the Pen of Inspiration says that in the book of Great Controversy, page 608. So they shall become bitter enemies of their former brethren, and they shall betray them. Scriptures confirm it. The Pen of Inspiration also confirms it. And it shall happen like that. The word of the Lord shall not fall on the ground. So we can see that there are parallels between the story of Cain and Abel and the time of the end. What happened between the two brothers shall be fulfilled also in the time of the end. Two groups shall be formed. The group of those who follow God and the group of those who are not on the side of God, who are not ready to follow what God says, who want to do things their own way, who are not there to do what God is saying we should do. They want to do their own way, but they are thinking that they are on their way to eternal life, yet they are on the way to perdition. So let's go back to the book of Matthew again. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall men be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And Genesis also says in verse 9 of chapter 4, and the Lord said unto Cain, where is thy brother? Now, listen to the answer that how this man answers God, the sovereign of the world, the one who created everything, the one who is giving life to all the living creatures in this world. Listen to how someone can answer God without fear, without respect, without reverence. Angels bow down and give reverence and honor to God. Look at this poor mortal man, sinful, a speck of dust, answering God in this manner. That's how bold someone can become when you are rebellious and you have failed to humble yourself and follow what God says. Listen to the answer. And he said, I know not. He started lying now. So one sin leads to the other. At first it was just a sin of disobedience. God says, when you come to bring offerings before me, you need to bring an animal sacrifice. This man says, no, I will bring my cabbages, I will bring my produce from the garden. Just, it looks like it's a small matter. The next thing now is lying that he doesn't know where his brother is, but he knows where his brother is. He killed him and he left him somewhere in the forest, in the bush where they were together. And now he's saying, I know not, he's lying. Am I my brother's keeper? Now he's even boldly disrespecting God. He's answering in a rough manner to God. Unkind words, disrespectful. That's how you become when you choose not to follow God. You become very bold in sin, and you become very evil and disrespectful. And you don't care who you are talking to. Matthew chapter 24 verse 12, the Bible goes on to say, and because iniquity shall abound, and the love of many shall wax cold. So when iniquity multiplies in you as an individual, and together as a group of people who do not want to follow God, as it is going to multiply in the last days when the Son of the Lord shall be declared. At that time, the level of sin in this world would have reached that height that is so great. Iniquity shall abound, and the love of many shall wax cold. When iniquity abounds, love, respect, and honor for God will not be part of the people. It will depart. People will just be bold into sin and into evil. That's all what they will be doing one sin on top of the other. And Genesis chapter 4 verse 10 says, and he said, what is thou done? God is now answering this murderer now, Cain. What is thou done? As if God doesn't know what's happening. He just want to hear what he says, how he responds. He say, and God goes on to say, the voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. God is telling you, is now showing him that God knows everything. There's nothing that is hidden under the face of the ground. Because even Psalms tells us that there's no way one can hide from the presence of God. Even if you take your bed and sleep under the ocean, God sees you. The Spirit of the Lord searcheth and sees where you are. Even if you go and hide in hell, God sees. Even if you go to a faraway country where you think people cannot see you, God sees you. There's nothing hidden under the sun. So God knew everything that happened between the two brothers. And then God pronounced his punishment in Genesis chapter 4, verse 11 and 12. And then after that, when the punishment is pronounced, we see the man complaining in verse 13. And then he says to God, and Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from the face I shall be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. You are scared of being slain. You are scared of being killed by others, yet you have just killed someone. So the one that you have killed did not deserve to live. The one that you have just killed, a life that you have just snatched away, did not want to live, did not want to enjoy this world. But you are worried about your own well-being. You don't want people to kill you. You want to live long and you want to enjoy life, but you are killing others. That's how selfish one can become when you disobey God and you choose to do things your own way. So it begins first by disobeying God, and then from disobeying God it goes to lying, and you become disrespectful, and you become very stubborn, and from there you become very selfish, and from selfishness you become very evil. You become a murderer. You hate those that do good. You hate those that are striving to do what God says. Exactly as 2 Timothy chapter 3 says that people shall be despisers of them that are good. So these are the stages that one can take when you choose to disregard God's commandments and God's precepts. So beloved, my prayer is that you and me, we follow what God says. We follow everything that God says. We should not be people who pick and choose what we feel is convenient for us to follow and reject certain things that we don't want. We should be people who are ready to follow everything that God says. That is the kind of attitude that God wants. The same attitude that the patriarch Noah, our father, left to us, that example. We should follow the same example. God bless you, beloved. God be with you as we strive to be obedient to all the commandments of Jehovah. God bless you. Amen.